had the normal sort of thing that I look for when I'm looking for a piece, where I had a visceral reaction to it. I have goosebumps, and or something emotional happens in the script, and I realize I'm crying or whatever. I've already reached for a pen and I'm already making notes. That's the vibe I look for as an actor, right? But this was a different thing. That was going on, but simultaneously, this other voice was kind of taking control of everything, not just notes about the character that I was being asked to play, but it was emphasizing in my mind. It was going, oh, that's a very important thing. Maybe that needs a little bit of strengthening. This dialogue for that character goes, and this connects to that. And there was this whole other process that was going on. And I realized when I finished it, apart from the fact that I'd loved the story, I wanted to take responsibility for it. I wanted the whole entire thing to be my responsibility. Colonel Hughes, Lieutenant Colonel Hughes, was in charge of the War Graves Unit. Now that is the group of men who went into the battlefields after the cessation of war in 1919, and given that Gallipoli was over by December 1915, went around collecting and trying to identify the bones that they found in the battlefield. Now, there was a letter from Colonel Hughes to C.W. Bean, and in it there was a line: "One old chap managed to get here from Australia today, looking for the graves of his sons. We looked after him as best we could, and we put him on a boat to Brindisi." Now that line exploded in Andrew Anastasia's mind. It's like, who was this guy? Who is this guy, and how can I find out who that was? So he started the process of looking into all the documents you could find, ship manifests, whatever, to try and track down who this one old chap was, And it was a fruitless search, and he was never able to pin it down. He was talking with Andrew Knight, his writing partner, and the two of them just decided that that's too good a line, that's too good a moment in history, that's too good an opportunity for a story. So they basically reverse engineered a narrative back to that line, and that's how the script of The Water Diviner was written. The Water Diviner is the story of Joshua Connor. He's an Australian farmer. He has 3 sons, and they go off to war, and they don't come back. The grief of that situation drives his wife to craziness, to madness. And she ends up killing herself. So Joshua is left with nothing. He makes a graveside promise to his wife that he'll go to the battlefields and try his best to retrieve the bones of his sons and bring them home and bury them next to her. Now that sounds like the journey of a madman. But other things come up, other things happen, people that he meets, situations arise, and information that comes to him during the course of that journey. Well, it implies that maybe his sons didn't die on the day he thought that they did. And that sets off a story which is at once sort of life-affirming and beautiful. And Joshua's life changes completely from the direction that he thought he was in at the beginning of the story. Part of this is practical. Part of it is kind of like an essential thing about the magnetism that resides within your body. And part of it is intuition. And the way we play it in the movie, Joshua gets a physical sensation in the presence of water, and later when he's actually looking for the bones of his children, he gets that same physical sensation. When Joshua gets to Istanbul, he meets a couple of people. He meets a little kid by the name of Orhan, and Orhan takes him in turn then to meet his mother, whose name is Aisha. And we discover a lot about Aisha's particular place in life, or the places she is in her life at the moment. Her husband has gone off to war, he hasn't returned. Culturally, she is resisting admitting that he's dead, because then that sets off a series of events that she doesn't necessarily want to happen, and that would be the marrying of her dead husband's brother, so her son can grow up with a father. And it's also for her son that she keeps a kind of pretense up, because for her son to know that his dad is dead, it would be hugely destructive in his life. And so, you know, her choice as a mother is to sort of keep that fantasy that dad will be coming home at any time alive. I think what connects Joshua and Aisha is not some sort of torrid sort of chemical connection, you know. It's really like the shared experience of grief. He's lost 3 sons, she's lost a husband. So they have a place, even though they come from very different cultures and very different mindsets, they have a place in common. They came up to my farm, that, you know, which I've got set up for me to prepare for gigs, and so it works just as well for other people. And we had a 2-week process up there, which was very physical. There, you know, nightly we would have lectures from various university professors about the period of time that we were in, the politics of the area. We just basically filled in the knowledge and then started to prepare them physically, you know, not only with gym sessions, but with, you know, long walks, with bike rides. You know, we did a lot of sessions with the firearms that they would have used at that particular time, so they'd be really slick with that. We used, you know, we did a lot of horse work, so they looked very comfortable and they looked like they were bush boys rather than city kids, you know, with the way they rode. So all of those things, you know, added up to a certain place, right? But this is still 3 months out from when they're going to be shooting. Now you have to rely on the fact that now that I've given you this stuff as a young actor, right? I've filled you with this knowledge and given you your physical parameters, and now you know where you have to be and all that, you know. Now it's up to that individual to then be consistent and bring to you a different body shape or whatever when you start shooting. And they all did. Although the story of the Water Diviner is very specifically Australian, you know, here's an Australian man who's looking for his Australian kids who went to a foreign country and died, you know. However, having said that, it's just as much the story of Turkey and the Turkish perspective of this conflict. But having said that, there was a battle, children lost their lives, and a father goes looking for them. It's a universal situation, and everybody understands war. Everybody understands the grief of war, and the sacrifice of war, and the loss that people who are left alive have to deal with, you know. So it's the themes of the Water Diviner are gigantic and universal.